Welcome to episode 4 of Discussion Skills Mastery. So far in this series, you've learned how to express your opinion clearly, support it with reasons, and strengthen your ideas using examples. These are all essential communication skills. However, discussions involve more than sharing your own ideas. A discussion is a conversation between two or more people. That means you also need to know how to respond to someone else's opinion. One of the most valuable ways to do this is by agreeing politely. Simply saying, "I agree," isn't always enough. Strong communicators explain why they agree and often add their own ideas to keep the conversation moving. This makes discussions more engaging, meaningful, and collaborative. In today's lesson, you'll learn useful expressions for agreeing politely, discover a simple framework for extending conversations, and practice using these skills in both classroom and workplace discussions. By the end of this lesson, you'll feel more confident responding positively to other people's ideas. Let's begin. Before we learn useful expressions, let's understand why agreeing politely is such an important discussion skill. When you agree respectfully, you show that you're listening carefully to the other speaker. This helps build positive discussions because people feel that their ideas are being heard and valued. Agreeing politely also shows respect. Even if you already have the same opinion, expressing your agreement in a thoughtful way creates a friendly and supportive atmosphere. Another benefit is that it helps keep conversations flowing. Imagine if every response was simply, "I agree." The discussion would end very quickly. Instead, when you explain why you agree or add another idea, the conversation continues naturally. Finally, agreeing politely helps build stronger relationships. Whether you're talking with classmates, colleagues, friends, or clients, respectful communication creates trust and encourages teamwork. That's why agreeing politely is more than just good manners. It's an essential communication skill. Let's look at 3 different ways to express agreement. The first is the most basic response. "I agree." This sentence is correct, but it's very short. It tells the listener that you have the same opinion, but it doesn't add anything new to the discussion. Now, let's improve it. "I agree with you." This sounds more natural because you're responding directly to another speaker. However, we can make it even stronger. "I completely agree," because your point makes sense. Notice what's different. The speaker doesn't just agree, they explain why they agree. Adding a reason makes your response feel more thoughtful and meaningful. Whenever possible, try to move beyond short answers. Instead of ending the conversation with "I agree," explain your thinking. This encourages richer discussions and shows that you're actively engaged with the topic. Remember, the goal isn't simply to agree. The goal is to contribute to the conversation. Now let's learn some useful expressions that can help you agree politely during a discussion. Our first expression is, "I agree with you because." This is a simple but effective way to agree while also explaining your reason. For example, "I agree with you because regular exercise improves both physical and mental health." Notice that the sentence doesn't stop after agreeing. It continues by explaining why the speaker agrees. "I completely agree." This expression shows strong agreement. You can use it when you fully support another person's opinion. For example, "I completely agree. Reading every day is one of the best ways to improve your vocabulary." Another useful expression is, "That's a great point." This expression does 2 things. First, it shows agreement. Second, it complements the other person's idea. For example, "That's a great point. I hadn't thought about it that way before." "I share the same opinion." This is a more formal expression. It's often used in academic discussions, presentations, and workplace meetings. For example, "I share the same opinion because teamwork usually leads to better solutions." Finally, we have, "You make a good point." This expression acknowledges that the other person's idea is valuable. Even before you explain your own thoughts, you're showing respect for their contribution. Learning these expressions will help your discussions sound more natural, polite, and professional. Let's look more closely at some of these expressions in context. Our first example is, I completely agree. Regular exercise improves both physical and mental health. Here, the speaker doesn't simply agree. They immediately support the agreement with an additional idea. This makes the conversation richer and more meaningful. That's a great point. I hadn't considered that before. This expression is particularly useful during discussions because it shows that you're listening carefully. It also shows that you're open to learning from other people's ideas. Being open-minded is an important part of becoming a strong communicator. I share the same opinion because teamwork often leads to better ideas. Notice the word because. Even when you're agreeing with someone, it's helpful to explain why you agree. Giving a reason makes your response more thoughtful and helps keep the discussion moving. Instead of giving short answers, try to expand your response whenever possible. A longer, well-supported answer creates a more engaging conversation. Now, let's learn a simple framework that you can use in almost any discussion. The framework has 3 steps. Step 1. Agree. Start by showing that you agree with the other speaker. For example, I completely agree. Step 2. Explain why. Tell the listener why you agree. For example, I completely agree because regular reading improves vocabulary. Now your listener understands your reasoning. Step 3. Add your own idea. This is the step that keeps the discussion going. For example, I'd also add that it helps develop critical thinking skills. Now, let's put all 3 steps together. I completely agree because regular reading improves vocabulary. I'd also add that it helps develop critical thinking skills. Can you hear how natural that sounds? Instead of ending the conversation with a simple, I agree, you've contributed a new idea that encourages further discussion. Whenever you're participating in a discussion, remember this formula. Agree, explain why, add your own idea. It's a simple structure, but it will help you become a more confident and engaging communicator. Let's see how our agreement framework works in a real classroom discussion. Imagine student A says, I think students should read every day because it improves vocabulary. Now, listen to student B's response. I completely agree because reading also improves critical thinking skills. Notice what student B does well. First, they clearly express agreement by saying, I completely agree. Next, they explain why they agree, because reading also improves critical thinking skills. Instead of simply repeating student A's idea, student B contributes another benefit of reading. This helps the discussion grow. In many classroom discussions, your goal isn't just to agree with someone. Your goal is to build on their idea and help the conversation move forward. That's exactly what student B has done here. Flexible working hours improve productivity. Employee B replies, that's a great point. Employees often produce better work when they have a healthy work-life balance. This response is effective for 2 reasons. First, employee B acknowledges the other person's idea by saying, that's a great point. This creates a positive and respectful atmosphere. Second, employee B adds another supporting idea instead of repeating the same sentence. They explain that a healthier work-life balance can improve the quality of employees' work. This contribution adds value to the discussion. In workplace meetings, managers and colleagues appreciate people who don't simply agree. They explain their thinking and contribute new perspectives. Remember, discussions are collaborative. Your role is not only to respond, but also to help develop the conversation. Let's look at a common mistake learners make when agreeing. Imagine someone says, exercise is important because it improves health. You reply, I agree. Is this wrong? No. It's grammatically correct. However, it doesn't help the discussion continue. Now compare it with this response. I agree because regular exercise improves overall health. I'd also add that it reduces stress. Can you hear the difference? The second response does three things. It agrees, it explains why, and it introduces a new idea. This creates a richer and more meaningful discussion. Whenever you agree with someone, challenge yourself to add something useful. It could be another reason, another example, or another perspective. That's what confident communicators do. They don't end conversations, they help conversations grow. Now it's your turn. Let's practice today's discussion skill. Our topic is, should schools ban mobile phones? Imagine that another student says, I think schools should ban mobile phones because they distract students during lessons. Your task is to respond using today's framework. Remember the 3 steps. Agree, explain why, add your own idea. For example, I completely agree because students can concentrate better without distractions. I'd also add that banning mobile phones encourages more face-to-face communication. Now create your own response. Take your time and try to include all 3 parts. The more you practice, the more naturally this framework will become part of your everyday communication. Let's reflect on your response. Ask yourself these 4 questions. Did I agree politely? Did your response sound respectful and positive? Did I explain why? Did you tell the listener why you agreed? Did I add my own idea? Did you contribute something new instead of repeating the same point? Did I help continue the discussion? A strong discussion doesn't stop after one sentence. It develops through thoughtful responses and meaningful contributions. If you answered yes to these questions, you're already becoming a stronger discussion participant. Let's review today's lesson. Today, we learned why agreeing politely is an important communication skill. We explored several useful expressions, including, I agree with you because, I completely agree. That's a great point. I share the same opinion. And you make a good point. We also learned a simple discussion framework. Agree, explain why, add your own idea. Finally, we applied this framework in classroom and workplace discussions and practiced using it ourselves. Remember, agreeing politely doesn't mean ending the conversation. It means helping the conversation grow by adding meaningful ideas. In our next lesson, we'll learn another essential discussion skill: disagreeing respectfully during discussions. Disagreeing doesn't have to create conflict. In fact, respectful disagreement is one of the signs of a confident communicator. You'll learn how to express a different opinion politely, acknowledge another person's viewpoint, and explain your own ideas without sounding rude or argumentative. By combining agreement and respectful disagreement, you'll be able to participate confidently in almost any discussion. I look forward to seeing you in the next lesson. Thank you for learning with me today. I hope this lesson has shown you that agreeing politely is about much more than simply saying, I agree. Strong communicators acknowledge other people's ideas, explain their reasoning, and contribute something valuable to the conversation. As you continue practicing, try using today's framework whenever you agree with someone. Remember, agree, explain why, add your own idea. The more you use this structure, the more natural and confident your discussions will become. If you enjoyed this lesson, don't forget to subscribe to Everyday English Treats for more lessons on discussion skills, business English, grammar, vocabulary, and everyday communication. Happy learning with Everyday English Treats. Until next time, take care, keep practicing your English, and remember, every conversation is another opportunity to grow. See you in the next lesson.